Hi. So I am going to be talking about this book by Elizabeth Bishop. It's all of her poems in one copy. It's really cool too. There are lots of poems here that were never collected. They're like scraps of paper. She wrote little like jokey poems on to her friends and stuff, like this page from a Fanny Farmer cookbook. And it's just like, you won't become a gourmet cook by studying our Fanny's book. Her thoughts on food and keeping house are scarcely those of Levi Strauss. Nevertheless, you'll find, Frank dear, the basic elements are here. And if a problem should arise, the souffle fall before your eyes, or strange things happen to the rice. You know I love to give advice. Elizabeth. So it's cool because you see not only, each book she wrote in sequence, but you see just the random fun things that people write to each other and get a sense of her personality in that way. And I gotta say, Elizabeth Bishop, she won a Pulitzer Prize. She's incredibly respected during her lifetime and beyond currently. And I'd read her famous poems, but I'd never read a whole book by her. Like not like a collection, but even like a book, like one of her books. And so the first book in here is the first collection that's in here is North and South. That was her first book of poetry. And I was reading it and I was like, this is not that good. Like I started reading them aloud to Ian to be like, am I like losing my mind, because she's so celebrated and respected and maybe I'm just not getting it. But he was like, yeah, like that's not good. I mean, they're kind of clunky, a lot of them, towards the beginning. They sort of don't have a lot of heart in them. She kind of overwrites. She's a tendency to sometimes write in such detail that you're like, okay, I don't need to know like every grain of wood on this end table in the study in this mansion that you've already described to us in incredible detail. I mean, that's not a real thing, but you know what I mean. So, like the economy of language, basically, I'm saying, by not showing economy of language, I'm saying is not the best. And you just are kind of like, Pulitzer Prize, eh? Wow, okay. Or, but then as you move along, you see that she totally develops and really comes into her own, and that she is an uneven writer, honestly, even her later poems, which are more sophisticated, but when she's good, she's the best, She knocks it out of the ballpark. And I'm going to read you a poem which is kind of dear to my heart because I think it takes place in the Florida Keys. I'm not quite sure, but it talks about mangroves and rainy storms and a kind of tropical place. And I don't think it's Brazil because it was earlier on, but it might be. But I like to think it's about the Florida Keys, so let's just go with that. The Florida Keys are very dear to my heart. This would have been our 8th year going with me and my 2 best friends from home, but we're not going this year, and so it's very sad days. But this poem, ironically, is not sad days. It's more like a meditation. It's like, if you've ever done a guided meditation or heard of them, where like you close your eyes and someone will say, okay, you're walking down a path and there's a dock, and there are 4 packages on the dock, and you pick one up and you throw it in the water, and that represents to you, your former cares and troubles that you're releasing. Anyway, so these are, guided meditations that oftentimes people do to find peace. And this is really interesting to me because it's sort of like that, but it's a little troubling, and it's called Little Exercise, and it's for Thomas Edwards Wanning. Think of the storm roaming the sky uneasily, like a dog looking for a place to sleep in. Listen to it growling. Think how they must look now, the mangrove keys lying out there unresponsive to the lightning in dark, coarse-fibered families, where occasionally a heron may undo his head, shake up his feathers, make an uncertain comment when the surrounding water shines. Think of the boulevard and the little palm trees, all stuck in rows, suddenly revealed as fistfuls of limp fish skeletons. It is raining there. The boulevard and its broken sidewalks with weeds in every crack are relieved to be wet, the sea to be freshened. Now the storm goes away in a series of small, badly lit battle scenes, each in another part of the field. Think of someone sleeping in the bottom of a rowboat, tied to a mangrove root, or the pile of a bridge. Think of him as uninjured, barely disturbed. So I love that description of kind of a paradise that's being shaken up by a storm, and that, isn't constantly peaceful and constantly preserved, but is in perpetual movement and almost threat. And the idea that within that, there can be peace and there can be rest, which is what I think the last stanza brings home. It reminds me of this poem, which my wonderful poet friend Andrew wrote for me, which, hold on, I think it's hanging. I framed it and hung it on my wall. So let me see. Hold on. I don't know if you can see that. But it says, if suspended from a cable, boulders too will sway in the wind. And I think that's something I'm finding and really interested in both my yoga practice and this poem, and am drawn to in a lot of writing, and find myself writing a lot about, is how to find the internal peace, or like a pocket of peace within chaos. And so that is what that poem means to me, and also is one of the poems where her Bishop's incredible eye for detail and for really getting the entire panorama. It's like she's like Wallace Stevens, but without being as psychedelic, a little more down to earth. But she really hits the nail on the head in that poem, I think, at capturing a landscape and connecting the landscape to an emotion, which I think in some of her poems, it's a little too much landscape, like not enough emotion, You're like, if I hear one more time what the vein of a big leaf looks like, I might just throw myself out this window. But this one hits it on the head. And I wish I could read more from there, but I don't want to bore you guys or overstay my welcome. So that's it for me for Words Wednesday, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you next week. Bye.